Hey, Jamie. Hi, everybody. This is Anthony Hines. I have my guest, Jamie Edwards, the greatest career coach in the history of planet Earth, right here. And um, Jamie, tonight we're going to talk about easy to implement ways to get your job search moving. And we're going to talk a little bit about the transition between summer and fall and how that affects people, not only in the job search market, but mentally. How do they feel, and whether they will kind of ramp it up because the summer is leaving us, sadly, and the fall is coming on. So I want to prep you to think about some of these things before I start. I want to remind everybody to ask your questions, make your comments. We love good comments. We love bad comments. We love pretty good comments. We love wicked bad comments. Every comments we love. All the comments we love because it helps us to be better. And Jamie, before we start, let's do a little trip down memory lane. How long have we been doing this, and how do you feel it's going regarding what we're telling to the job seekers?
I don't know. Has it been about close to a year now, maybe longer? I feel like it's been a while. We've been doing this now. I mean, you've been doing it for a longer time before I came on the call, but yeah, it's been a good amount of time, right?
Yeah, but like you'll think, oh, it's been a year, but I bet you if you look back, because we have intervals of a couple of weeks, sometimes those it's a little bit more than you realize. So the point of the matter is, let's get right into it because people like to hear about us, but they want to hear about how they're going to get a job. So, Jimmy, what are you finding out there? What are your people doing? What's working for your people?
Yeah, so we're talking about the transition from summer to fall, right? And it is getting a little cooler outside too out here by me. But I'll tell you first off, let me just introduce myself for those who don't know me. I mean, for those who've been on this call every week or every couple of weeks, you kind of know a little bit what I do. But my name is Jamie Edwards. I have my own career coaching company called Jam Sessions with Jamie. And what I do is I help job seekers with various steps on their job searching journey. So I write resumes for people from scratch. I do interview practice on one-on-one Zoom calls. I help people with preparing for interviews, answering the easiest and the toughest questions during the interview process, negotiating salaries so people get paid what they're worth and they don't let companies take advantage of them and not pay them enough. I help with all those things. I also help with LinkedIn optimization as well. I rebuild people's LinkedIn profiles. I know the ins and outs of LinkedIn like the back of my hand and how to get more traction on your profile and more visibility from a brand perspective. So I help out with all those things. I've been doing this now for 3 years on my own. I've worked with over almost 700 job seekers at this point over the last 3 years. I've got about 170 recommendations on my LinkedIn page as well. So I encourage you, take a look at my LinkedIn page. If we're not connected, shoot me a connection request, say hi, introduce yourself. I'm always looking to grow my network. And if you're looking to gain traction on your job search, you've just hit a point where you just need confidence and you want to get hired faster, have a conversation with me, schedule a free call with me. I know the call is in the event page, but you can also go to my website too, which is jamsessionswithjamie.com, right where you see it right by my name. Just go to jamsessionswithjamie.com and you can schedule a call with me and learn more about what I do on my website. So back to what I was saying before, I've been pretty busy. I had a client who I recently wrote a resume for who is a recruiter, and she's looking to find a new recruiting job because she's in a toxic environment. I helped rewrite her resume, and she just messaged me yesterday saying she's got 2 really good interviews coming up already, which she was struggling to get interviews before. So that's awesome. Like I said, she came, she's already got more confidence. She's ready to hit the ground. We're going to be doing an interview session soon as well, too, before she has her interview. So this way we can prep her. But yeah, staying busy. People are getting hired. The transition from the summer to fall, what happens is the mentality sometimes can be a little harder with job seekers, right? Because when you hit fall, a lot of time it almost signals sometimes that it's the last quarter of the year when it comes to securing a job, because people start getting into that mindset that winter is going to be next and I need to get a job before the holidays or before the current year slips away. And companies don't hire so much towards the later half of the year because, people's budgets reset and companies' budgets reset. So that mentality sometimes shifts to, oh no, I got to get a job really quick, right? And I got to find something soon because winter is going to come soon. But really, it's, you just got to keep your goals prioritized. You got to buckle down. You got to stay serious, and you don't feel the pressure necessarily, but feel a surge of motivation, right? Feel like you're motivated more than ever now. It's getting to the end of the year. You got to discipline yourself, and you got to keep staying on your job search and not give up. You really got to think of those things, right? Don't look at it more of just a stressful thing that we're getting towards the end of the year and you might still be looking for a job. Look at it as companies are still hiring. There's still opportunities on the table. There's still companies that need good people, and all you have to do is focus on that one yes.
Right. Because the fact of the matter is, your world is surrounded with distractions. Your world is surrounded with rejections. Your world is surrounded with reasons to not believe in yourself, because some people love the fact that they can bring you down. Some people can love the fact that you're not having success because they feel better about themselves. Not to be all deep and everything, but what I tell people all the time when they recognize this, don't sit there and try to change the person. Leave the environment. You have no time for people that are negative. Your
Right.
time is to be spent on yourself. Your time is to be spent on your own marketing of your own brand, of your own skills, of your own experience, of your own self, because you're out there to show people that you're the best candidate for every position. Do not, and I mean do not, waste time on people that are anything less than supportive, positive, inclusive, transparent, and motivated. Do not spend any time with those people that are not those words, because that is wasted time. Right, Jamie?
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. Surround yourself around the people that should be in your circle, right? If you surround yourself around people who are negative all the time, who say, oh, I can't do this, or this isn't going my way, or this is happening, that's going to suck the energy out of you. And it's a chain reaction, right? If you surround yourself, if you find a group of people that are job seekers and you start a engagement, I call a self, what's the word I'm looking for? An accountability pod, right? Start a group with people who are motivated to find an opportunity. Find 4 or 5 people in your group on LinkedIn. Start a group thread. Message them privately. See if they'd be open to a group thread. Get everyone together in a group thread and set goals every day. How many jobs are you going to apply to? What is your goal? How many interviews are you going to shoot for this week, right? At the end of the day, debrief and talk about any of your wins and celebrate those wins. And even if you didn't have a win that day, it's okay, because a new day is tomorrow, right? But when everybody holds their accountability and everybody's motivated and everyone's on the same page, you feel like everyone's trying to hit one goal. You're surrounding yourself around people who know what that end game looks like, and they're not negative, and they're holding themselves accountable. And that's who you want to be around in a job search, is people who are doing all those things, because the energy is just, it's not being sucked out of the room. The energy just keeps moving, just keeps getting bigger and bigger around those people. And then you celebrate those people who end up getting hired. If somebody in your group gets hired, you celebrate. Good karma breeds good karma. Eventually it's going to come to you, and you're going to find an opportunity too. The thing is, you're not going to be unemployed for the rest of your life. I can promise you that. You didn't come this far to only come this far, right? Which I think is a good thing to remember, because, we all have skills that we're good at. And It's just this job market is unlike anything we've ever seen before. It is taking longer to find opportunities, but it doesn't mean that your skills are diminished or you're doing anything wrong. You just have to understand that this is a marathon and not a sprint. It takes a little bit longer to get hired.
Well, Jamie, what I tell people too is I say have a job search Zoom call where everybody gets on the Zoom call and they all look for jobs. And when they're in the companies looking for jobs, they'll say, Jane, there's a job at company A. You might want to apply for that. Steve, there's a job at company B. You want to apply for that. Reality is this Zoom call will create an energy that is vibrant. And then everybody who was, say, laid off on the same day, get a list of people that were laid off, invite them all to the Zoom call. Everybody looks, everybody checks companies, and everybody helps each other. And what you're going to find is that people, even after they get a job, are going to still try to join the call because they want to help the people that help them.
Yep.
So also, too, if you get a job from something like this, you're going to remember the person that organized that Zoom call. And if you're the one who organizes this Zoom call and there's 50 people on it and there's 30 people on it and there's 40 people on it, those are 40 people that are going to remember you. Organize the Zoom call, and then if you apply at one of their companies, what do you think of the chances they're going to try to help you? What do you think of the chances they're going to refer you? What do you think of the chances they're going to go tell HR something great about you? Why? Because you helped them when they were down. Helping others when they are down is a job search secret to implement now, today, this second, this minute. Help everybody you can, and then it will come back to you. Not only spiritually, as they say in karma, people will remember that. Right, Jimmy?
No, absolutely right. You're right. People remember when you help somebody good and they pay it forward. And then when they end up getting a job, yeah, they want to pay it forward too, right? So
it's not the season.
Yeah, it's all a chain. Right. It's all a chain reaction and everything. And it's you want to help each other out. And I try to provide as much free advice as I can on my LinkedIn profile and try to help people. My free call that I do with people is not just for me to try to tell people about the services I offer and put a plan together. It's also going over their resume, pointing out things that maybe need to be changed, and then obviously deciding if we're a good fit to work with each other, right? But there's a lot of free advice out there, right? There is, and it can be hard sometimes to determine what is good advice versus what is not as good advice. And when you're looking at a lot of places on LinkedIn and people's posts and content, it's very hard to distinguish those things, right? And I tell people this, like, obviously on a job search or anything, with anything, you can go at it alone, right? You can go at a job search alone and you can Google things and you can find ways to do things and you can try to get advice and do it on your own. It's the same thing if you're trying to lose weight. You want to get a personal trainer, you can pay for somebody to do it, or you can read things on diets and you can try different things and do things on your own. There's a lot of free advice out there, right? You just got to determine what is best for you. I know people who I've worked with who have been on a job search for 6 months and they tried going at it and they refused to spend money on a career coach. They didn't want to do it. They said, I don't want to pay somebody to help me out. And then guess what? 6 months later, they're still looking for a job and they see people that I'm working with who are getting hired fast or are celebrating interviews. I had somebody I worked with recently who has been on their job search for 9 months and they finally reached out to me. We've been working together and they've already gotten more interviews than they've ever gotten before. And they're like, why didn't I decide to do this 6 months ago? Right. And I said, look, that's up to you, right? Like, you're your own person. You're responsible for your decisions. Whatever you want to do is up to you. I'm just here to try to make it easier, right? So you just got to find out what's best for you and what works for you as a job seeker. But that's what I'm doing. If I'm a job seeker and I'm getting late and I got laid off or something happened, if I have the funds to do so, I'm going to try to reach out to different people. I'm going to see who can help me out, because every day you go without working is a day you're not making money, right? And I get it. Some people's funds are limited, and I totally understand that. But if you have the opportunity to have somebody help you get back in the job search and you work with somebody reputable, it's well worth it.
Well, here's another easy to implement secret. I'm going to reference these things as part of the title so people don't think we ramble on about nothing. Okay, here's another something that I think people need to do this second, this minute, right away. Embrace your experience, embrace your background, embrace the challenges that you've overcome in your life. Make those stories of success during your interviews. Never run away from anything that has brought you to this place where you are in your life. It is filled with successes. It is filled with challenges that you've overcome. It is filled with things that you don't ever want to look at negatively, that people tend to, and instead embrace the fact that you overcame that challenge, because that is a motivating story in an interview. Because as long as you don't believe in that challenge and that success, no one else is going to believe in it. You are your own solution. You are your own solution. You are not a problem. You are not someone that no one wants to be around. You are filled. You reek of success. Embrace your solution. Embrace your mindset of success. Embrace your positivity aspect and go. And I mean go. That's what you do right now. Jamie, talk about people who don't believe in themselves. How do you fix that?
Yeah, so when you don't believe in yourself, right? I mean, if you start thinking that woe is me and I can't get a job and what am I doing wrong? I keep getting all these no's, and you start focusing on all the negative aspects of your job search, it's not going to help you at all. It's going to make you wake up in the morning and dread getting on the computer because you're going to be thinking that I'm going to hit my email and I'm going to see a bunch of rejection emails. Or you're going to not have the motivation to wake up in the morning and set a goal to apply to jobs, right? You need to stay positive on a job search. You worked this hard to get to where you are today, and that does not fall on deaf ears. There is a company out there that's going to see you for the worth that you bring, and you're going to be everything that they need and more in their company, right? Every company is different. Don't take to heart that companies are not, that are sending rejection emails. They can only choose one person to get hired. There's a lot of people applying to jobs. Every company's looking for something different. You need to just put it in your back pocket when you get a rejection email and say, you know what? It's not me. It's not my loss. It's their loss. They're the ones who are missing out on what I'm bringing to the table. They're the ones who are going to miss out on all the good things I could have brought their company and all the things I could have implemented. It's their loss. I'm going to keep moving forward because I just have to focus on that one company who's going to take a chance on me. So when you are having that, when you are thinking negatively about what you're doing, it's going to affect you. You're not going to want to get up and do things. It's going to affect your health. You're going to miss out on opportunities. Every day is going to go by and you're not making money. So you just have to understand that it's a process and it takes time.
Jamie, part of your success is the amount of how many people you have actually had some help in getting hired. What is the percentage of people that you've dealt with of those 700 or so that you have found that you were a part of their successful job search completion?
That's a good question. I'm looking that up right now, actually. So I'm looking at my document here, about 86 to 87% right now. People I've worked with that have been hired. Now, some of these people are on another job search, so I don't include that. They got hired and maybe something happened, so they're back on their job search. But everybody that I've worked with, I keep track of who's getting hired and how things are going. And I don't take full credit for it, as I always mention on these calls. But we're about 86, 87% of people that I've worked with have found their next opportunity after we've done a session together, whether we've done resume, interview practice, LinkedIn profile optimization, all three services, whatever it is. 86 to 87% have gotten hired. So, you know, that's a pretty high number. And I do take pride in that. I know that obviously I'm part of the equation. These people put in the work. They take the things that I teach them and they apply them. But yeah, I always keep track of that. I mean, that's how my success comes, is from other people.
Right. Now, sometimes, Jamie, what happens is people apply, and they don't get anything back. And it becomes this sense that you're just taking a pile of dirt and putting it into the Grand Canyon. No matter what you do, that dirt is never going to be seen again, right? When you apply for a job, you're never going to see that dirt again because it just doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. Talk about how people get over the fact when they're getting no responses.
So when you're not getting a response, you're about like when you're not getting a response from like a recruiter or something like that.
Well, you've applied at 50 jobs. You know, you're sitting at the computer, you're on Indeed, you're on LinkedIn, you've applied at 40, 50 jobs or some number, and you get nothing back within 2-3 weeks. You know, like obviously you keep applying, but it breaks people when they don't get any responses. And,
Right.
and how do you break that mindset to help you to keep going?
You gotta remember this: when you're not getting responses, and we know that's typically called ghosting, right? And we know that ghosting is obviously prevalent in a job search. It happens to everybody. I mean, throughout our lives, right? Ghosting happens when you want to date with somebody, you don't hear back from them, right? That's considered ghosting too. But in a job search,
not you, Jamie. No way. That never
not
happened to
me,
you.
right? No. But
Yeah.
ghosting, you know, that happens a lot. Recruiters, you know, it happens not only when you apply to jobs and you don't hear back whether you got an interview or you didn't get an interview. It also happens in the interview process, right? When you interview several times and somebody says, well, you'll hear back from me by this time, and you never hear back from them. You have to just keep on applying until you have a job offer in your hand and you've got something in your email that says sign the dotted line. Here's your offer. Here's how much you're making. And here's when you're going to start. You can't let those, you know, recruiters are busy. They are. I'm not using this as an excuse, right? But they are busy. They're dealing with a lot of different candidates and whatnot. And sometimes they may not get into their applicant tracking system. They may not distinguish you as a rejection, or maybe they don't do anything and you just sit there in limbo. All you can do is you can reach out to the recruiter again and follow up with your application and just ask if you're still being considered for the role. If you still don't hear from that, don't even worry about it. Keep going, keep applying, because you know what? If you stop and you're focused on that one job and you think that, oh, this is my dream job, this is what I wanted, you're missing out on other opportunities and new jobs that are coming up. You have to keep going. You can't worry about those other jobs. And if 3 weeks down the line, that company that you really wanted to work for comes back to you and says, you've got we want to move forward with an interview. Well, great. You wouldn't have expected it then, right? Because you kind of forgot about it because you were applying to so many other roles. At that point, it's kind of like a surprise. You're excited and you've got an interview there. You just can't rely on certain things. You can't rely on specific jobs. You have to apply to everything and anything that fits your background at this point. Like, don't just target some jobs and just say, these are the 3 companies I want to work for. If I don't work for any of these companies, I'm going to just take my time because I can. If you can do that, sure, do that. If you financially you can do that and you really want to hold out for that dream job, by all means, go ahead. But to many of us, we want to get back to work. We want to get back into the job. We want to get back to making money again, right? The jobs, the people who are happy, I'm going to tell you this, are the ones that are working for companies that they never expected would even be an option. They never thought I would even apply to this company. I never even heard of this company. And I found it on LinkedIn and I applied to it and I got an opportunity, and the manager, my boss is awesome. I have a great work-life balance. You have to open up your palette and your horizons and just keep on applying and get in where you fit in.
Many years ago, my friend, one of my best friends, worked as in the IT department of the Red Sox, the baseball team. And what happened was, he told me, he said He found this little teeny ad in the newspaper, buried in the help wanted many years ago, and applied. And that's what the job was. Sometimes companies consciously downplay their ads to see what they get, because if they make the ads too big, they'll be inundated with applications. Jamie, what about some of the curveballs that happen to people? For instance, say you have an offer, it's been accepted, and they move the start date on you, or they change the start date because the person who you're going to replace, their job isn't ready, or something like that. Do you continue to look, or do you, because you have the job, say, okay, grit your teeth and go do house projects for 2 weeks? I mean, what do you do when something like that happens?
Well, I always recommend, until you are in the chair, on your office chair, until you're in the business and you're working day one, always keep applying to other roles. Like, I've seen too many times where people get job offers and then, right, maybe they don't start right away. Maybe they push it back a couple of weeks because something's going on. And then what happens is they decide to pull the plug automatically on the job, and they say, sorry, you know what? We made a mistake. We're not applying it. We're not hiring anymore. We don't have the budget anymore, or we decided to go a different direction. And now you've spent 2 weeks not applying to jobs because you're like, well, I got an offer and I got a start date, but yeah, I didn't get it. You know, it didn't work out. And now you're back to square one. Always, until you're working that first day, keep applying, and always keep your mind open too. Even when you're working a job, right? Even when you're in an opportunity, the grass is not always greener on the other side. I understand that, but keep your eye open. Come back to LinkedIn. Look at what else is out there. Always do what's best for you, because don't worry about what the company's best for the company. If you got an opportunity and you're starting in 2 weeks and another opportunity comes along because you kept applying, and this new job is remote and it pays you $25,000 more and it's a better company, don't be afraid to tell that first company, you know what? I got another opportunity that I think is going to be better fit for me. I'm going to take this role. That company's not going to care. They'll care, but they're not going to sweat it. They'll find somebody else. At the end of the day, we are all replaceable. We have to do what's best for us, not for what's best for them, what's best for us.
Jamie, another easy to implement job secret that I tell people is keep in touch with the people from your previous company. If they get a new contract, if they find that they've come across some new business, if they buy someone and they find that they need your skills, maybe you have to pay back a little severance. And I'm sure, Jamie, you've seen that, where people have had to pay back some severance, but they go back to their previous company because the need changed. Have you found that to happen occur? My point is, keep in touch with your old company. You never know. I know people that have gone back to their old actual job, and it's happened because times changed in their company, or, to be honest, they cut too much, and they realized after everybody left, they cut too much. Have you ever had somebody, Jamie, go back to their old company?
Oh, I have. I've seen several people. Yeah. A lady I just worked with recently just did that, actually. She went back to her old company. She didn't think that was going to even be an option, but it ended up working out, right? It was because she still knew somebody who was in the company. It was a previous boss of hers who she had a good relationship with. They stayed in touch. Another opening came. They brought her right back in, right? You never want to burn bridges, obviously. Now, if it's a toxic environment, obviously, if it's a toxic workplace and you left there for a reason because there was just some things going on, maybe you still had a good relationship with some of your coworkers. Maybe there was one boss that you really had a good relationship with that still works for the company. Keep in touch with them. Make sure you're connected with them on LinkedIn. Have them make a recommendation for you on your LinkedIn profile, right? There's so many ways to just keep in touch, and you're shaking your head, Anthony. What are you doing there?
You recommend them on LinkedIn. LinkedIn will come back and ask that person, would you like to recommend you?
Yes.
You proactively recommend them.
Right. We got a LinkedIn user here really quick. I don't know who this is because I can't see her name or his name. But they said, at least you're getting no's. It's hard when you're going for an interview and they don't even call you to tell you no. You're right. It is hard. You almost feel like you've got the cold rejection, right? That they couldn't even have the decency to tell you that they are going another direction, right? But you just have to shake it off. You can't take offense to it. You said it's so rude not to receive a response after an interview. It is rude. You're right. You spent all this time interviewing for a role and going through the paces and the different rounds, and they don't want to even give the decency to tell you what's going on. That's on them. That's a red flag right there. Imagine if they're having trouble, if that's an issue and they're having trouble communicating with you in an interview. Imagine what the communication might be like if you got hired from that company and you were asked to do certain things and your boss didn't interview, your boss didn't respond to you certain ways and whatnot. Like, I wouldn't want to work for a company like that. So look at it as kind of like you dodging a bullet. When they don't respond, it's just, it's just bad on all ends. And I've interviewed, obviously, before I did career coaching, I interviewed for many companies. I worked for many companies. Some of them were really great interview processes. Some of them just were not good at all. And that's just a testament to the company and who's really got empathy and who's sympathetic, right? And that's all you got to chalk that up to.
Or Jamie, the recruiter that had been talking with you, got laid off himself or herself, and all of that candidacy got lost, and the new recruiter taking on that person's roles and candidates. I mean, something as basic as that. People don't want to believe that that can happen. But every company, another implement secret here, understand that every company is having challenges. Every company is not perfect. Your responsibility is to be ready when someone calls you out of the blue because they thought an interview was scheduled with you, but the HR generalist never did it. Why? Because the HR generalist quit that day or the day before. They never called you. But you got that hiring person on the phone. Do you really think it's smart to let that person go? No, 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 Anthony says. They're on the phone. You be ready. You always have your 30-second speech ready. You always have your interview mode ready. You got the person there. You jump on the opportunity. Never walk away from an opportunity. That is an implement type secret for you to help to get a job. Understand, companies are not organized. You be organized and
Yep.
you are ahead of them. Right, Jamie?
I love that. You be ahead of them and beat them at their own game, right? Once again, I say this enough. Companies are going to do what's best for them, right? You got to stay organized and you got to be prepared and you got to put your stuff in order and have all your ducks in a row and give as much as you can to that company and just be ready for anything, right? You're absolutely right, Anthony.
People are terrified of AI, Jamie. I personally think that it's not something to let you drive your ship. I believe it's something to think about, but the world has always had innovation and things will always be on a move. Talk about AI from your perspective, Jamie.
So AI has kind of consumed our lives in a lot of ways, right? I mean, Chat GPT, Grok, what's the other ones? There's Google ones. There's a lot of different ones, right? Gemini. It's really, it's really taken over a lot of the things we do, right? And I like AI. AI is great for ideas, right? AI is great for ideas if you're wanting to interview for a company or you need ideas for some resume stuff, things like that. I mean, or you need to answer something quick. Like AI is going to be, it's the future, right? It's in everything we do. It's even in our products, right? AI and telling our products to do certain things and they do them, right? But so don't be afraid to use AI for certain things, right? The problem that happens with AI is people become too reliant on it. People start writing their resumes with full 100% AI, and companies can snuff that out. People start reading from in an interview. They have things pulled up on ChatGPT and they're reading it word for word on what they're asking them and what they're saying, and you sound like a robot to the recruiter or hiring manager. That's not a good way to use AI. People can sense that, right? So, you have to have that fine. It's AI, you should use it. You should learn how to use it. You should know the ins and outs of it, but you should use it for ideas and not rely on it 100% in certain aspects on your job search, because companies are getting more and more updated on how to snuff those things out and how to tell if somebody's using AI and things like that. And the last thing you want to do is get disqualified from a role because you are a robot, right? We still need humans. We still need humans with feelings and real emotion, right? We weren't designed to be robots.
Guys, everybody, you'll see a link right under, the screen here. That is my new YouTube membership level only page. You get the greatest hits. You get Anthony's greatest hits at that membership level. And the fact of the matter is, you're going to get secrets you never thought of. So take a look at that. Be aware of that. Just be ready. I'm always thinking there'll be stuff out there. Jamie, let me ask you this. You're finding that, I'm sure, when you're on LinkedIn, a lot of people are getting jobs. Have you found a trend of any specific industries or areas or parts of the country that are hiring more? Any type of thing that somebody could look at?
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of stuff like, I'm seeing a lot of things in the healthcare industry, a lot of healthcare type roles, a lot of educational roles are hiring. I'm seeing a lot of different things like that. What I like to do is I like to take, you sometimes have to explore your horizons, right? And what I like to do is I like to, if you want to try, we were talking about AI, right? If you want to try to find a different industry or a different career path and find something that your skills can be transitional to, what I recommend doing is thinking of all the skills that you have and the jobs that you've been in, and maybe you can throw it into ChatGPT and say, these are the different jobs I've held throughout my career. These are some of the skills I've developed. What are some different industries and some different opportunities that my skills in the roles that I have could transition to something different? And you never know what it's going to say, right? But that's the beauty of skills, is that when we develop skills in one industry, we can maybe take that to another industry, or maybe we can do a different role. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to you might not be at the top of where you want to be in that role because you don't have the years of experience specifically in that industry or that role like other people might do. But if you're just burned out and you're done with the career path that you've been on, it might be worth it to take a transition and go to something else and find something different, because you might just be happier down the line. And that's the most important thing, is your happiness.
Well, also too, Jamie, sometimes even if you're driving for Uber or you're a personal shopper or you're walking dogs or you're doing things that you never thought your career would take you. I mean, there are people that have made millions of dollars with an idea that they never thought they would have time to implement, but because they got laid off, they took a chance and they went out and they started to build it, whether it's a YouTube page or some sort of a podcast or anything like that. And people have made money all different ways, and that's what we all should remember. Another implement secret: implement your dream while you are job seeking. Whatever your dream is, you've always wanted to become a painter, paint. You've always wanted to become a handyman. Become a handyman. You've always wanted to walk dogs. Walk dogs. Whatever your dream was, you have time to get it now. Certification, education, volunteering. Implement your dream. when you implement your dream, that's another secret to help you get a job. Jimmy, I was asking you before about somebody who gets an offer and they're all set. They sign the paperwork, and you say, keep applying. Well, it's funny. Sometimes you don't want to have that company realize that you're still applying when they've got to sign paperwork, even though they moved the date. So the reality is, you got to kind of watch that, right?
Yeah. They're not going to, I mean, they shouldn't know. I mean, obviously, you keep it to yourself, right? There should be no way of them knowing that you're applying to their role still, unless you're secretly, unless somehow they see it in a post or something like that. Like, I wouldn't even shout out that I got hired by a company until not only
you're sitting there.
Yeah, not even that. If I'm sitting there the first day, great. But what if something happens in the first couple of weeks? What if, and I've seen this happen before too, what if you start and it just doesn't work out? Or maybe it's not what you thought it was going to be. And everything they told you in the interview process is totally a 180 the other direction, right? I would always give it about a month or so before even announcing anything or updating your LinkedIn profile with your new opportunity, unless the company says you have to do it and this is what you have to do on social media. There are companies who dictate what you do on social media, which I think that's another story for another day. But you should wait until you know you're locked in. You started there, you spent a few weeks there, you've gotten your bearings down. You're like, okay, it feels official now. Let me announce it and let me put it on my job experience section.
Right. But the reality is that the time that you are off is a time of discovery, a time of growth, a time of experience, a time that you create a new journey. It is, and not the group journey, but a time that you create a new you, a new brand, a new self, and is not all about fear. It's about another secret to implement. Understanding this is a time of growth, activity, learning, knowledge, expansion, and not an opportunity of fear. So, because fear keeps you quiet. And what I tell people, humility is the enemy of the job seeker. Another secret, do not think about humility. Be someone who's your own best advocate. Do not worry. If you can back it up, it's not bragging. Jamie, what are some of the other experiences that your current clients are coming across, positively, negatively, as some of these people may be having some of those?
So what do you mean by like experience, like some of the things they're experiencing on their job search still?
Yeah, for instance, how interviews are going, or the types of questions that are being asked,
Yeah.
or how long it takes for people to get answers to come in, how long the process takes before they should reach back out and
Yeah.
check on a job.
So when it comes to interviewing, really quick, I see Jacob made a comment up here. Jacob Kerr said Sandy. So I think LinkedIn user's name must be Sandy. Said Sandy, it's rude. If it's human to human, that's not what's going on here. Right. If it's human to human, you're right. If you speak to a human and they don't get back to you, that's rude. But if it's an applicant tracking system and you don't get a response back, I mean, that's just as rude too. But you don't know what's going on there. You've never had a communication with somebody anyway, so it's a little bit less rude than obviously if it's human to human. But back to what we were talking about with the interviewing. One of the things that I practice when it comes to interviewing people is several different things. We practice on that first question that you get right away when you interview with somebody, which is tell me about yourself, right? So I spend a lot of time with the people I work with practicing that question and not just having a random elevator pitch for every job you apply to, but structure as to how you handle that question every time, because that is the first question that is going to set the tone for the rest of the interview, right? Is the dreaded tell me about yourself, because you don't know what they're looking for, but I have a structure during my coaching sessions that I tailor to each person's career path that helps them answer that question well. Another thing we talk about too is we talk about the behavioral questions. It's the majority of the interview process. You have to prepare yourself for behavioral questions. Things like, tell me about a time when you did this, or give me an example when you had to do this and what was the end result, right? That's usually about 30 to 40 minutes long when it comes to those questions, because that's what they want to know most about. They want to hear specific situations that you've been in and how did you handle them. And that's the whole STAR format, right? Situation, task, action, result. I know people have heard about STAR format. They know what it is, but a lot of times people buckle under pressure when push comes to shove. So I practice a lot of those things too. Interviews, you kind of know how the process is going. By the time you spend a half hour with somebody, you know, did I nail this interview? Did I do all right? Or was there things I could do better, right? But one of the things that I'll kind of share a tip here. One of the things that I like to do at the end of an interview is I like to ask one last question before the interview ends. And this question is a question that kind of gauges a little bit on how you've done in the interview process. So I might say something like this. If I'm interviewing with Anthony, I might say, hey, Anthony, I got one last question for you. Is there anything in relation to my job experience or anything in my resume or my past experience that I can clarify for you or clear up that would be any reason that you wouldn't select me as your next project manager or whatever job you're applying to? When you ask that question, you're giving them a chance to address anything that maybe they're hesitant about hiring you. Maybe they say, you know what, there's nothing more that we need to discuss and we really appreciated your time and now you feel good. Maybe they say, yeah, you know what, Jamie, we're looking for somebody who can do a little bit more of this and we couldn't really tell in the interview if you had this experience. Is this something you have? And now I can go ahead and take that ship and I can put it back on its course and I can go ahead and negate any of those barriers or any of those hesitations that they might have about hiring me. So
Anthony's question is, hey, sir, ma'am, what keeps you up at night? I will give you something I will do to help you to sleep better. That's what I said, because I feel that I'm going to be a problem solver for that company. And that's what I believe all candidates should feel. You're going to add value day one. Another secret to implement, the mindset that on every communication with a company, you're going to add value day one. Jamie, look at Joshua Andrews' comments there. I'm going to revert to a professional career coach here to allow him to answer that question. I'm going to revert to this.
Joshua says, if I'm applying to a new job, how a candidate could know about their own work process, because most of the managers questioning from their own work process to understand candidate potential in a few minutes. How can a candidate do research about the internal work process in any company? That's a good question, actually. I don't know if I understand what you mean necessarily. You're saying know about their own work process. You're saying how could you know about
culture, what the Glassdoor? Could that be culture, Glassdoor, Jamie?
Yeah, it could be. It could also be too, like one of the things that so if you don't know about their own work process or how things are happening, one of the things I like to do is I like to try to schedule informational interviews with other people who work for the company in the same role that I want to work for. So for instance, if I am applying to a project manager position at Microsoft, I might reach out to other project managers that work at Microsoft, and I might try to connect with a couple different ones. And I might ask them if I can have 15 minutes of their time to have a quick phone call with them or a Zoom call and ask them about what they do day to day. What is the work process? What do they do in a day-to-day tasks? And I might try to pick their brain a little bit and find out how they got in the company. What do they like most about it? What are they doing? What is their, what are they doing on a day-to-day basis? And this will prepare me for when I interview with a boss or whatnot, or when I interview with that company, I'm going to have an idea now of what their own employees are doing in the company, so I can better position myself and talk about what that work process looks like and understand that potential. Because you're right, every company is going to be looking for something different in in what they're looking for in their next hire. But you can take a backdoor route and maybe connect with other employees in that company and maybe pick their brain, and maybe you'll find out some things that you didn't know before you and prepared you better for the interview process.
Jamie, talk a little bit about the value of informational interviews, especially if you have a friend that works in HR or who works in recruiting, even if they're not looking. Talk about the secret of using your friends who are in those positions to help you practice, Jamie.
Yeah, obviously, if you have friends and people you know specifically who work for those companies, they've already gone through the interviews with those roles. They already know some of the questions that they were asked. They already know the process. They might even know the ins and outs of the recruiters or the hiring managers who work for the company, right? So that's a big thing. Pick their brain a little bit. Try to find out use your resources, like Glassdoor and what's the other one? Where salary.com is another good one too. But yeah, if you've got friends that work for the company, utilize them and try to use them to get you a referral too as well. Like, referrals are the golden ticket, right? Like they say in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, right? I got a golden ticket. Referrals are the golden ticket to getting in with a company. Amazon is big on this. If you apply to Amazon and you've got a referral, you've got almost a 300% better chance of getting an interview than somebody who's just blindly applying to a role. So yes, this is a good time to look through your LinkedIn profile and look at old coworkers and see what they're doing these days and see if they're working for different companies that you want to work for, and trying to rekindle that relationship with them and see how they're doing and see if they could be an avenue to helping you get in with their company.
Tell me, Jamie, about people that they have trouble sleeping the night before an interview. They worry when they're going to go. What I always tell people, here we go again, secret to implement right now, do a dry run. If you're going to a company the day before, drive to the company, make sure you know where the speed bumps are, make sure you know where the crossing guards are, where the school buses are, where the traffic lights are, where the construction sites are, how to park, where to get your badge. Do that the day before. That will take away the stress or minimize the stress of getting there on the day of the interview. Jamie, how do you help people that are really having trouble, say the night before an interview?
Yeah. So, I always tell people this the night before an interview, right? You want to kind of have a routine, right? And what I always recommend people doing is about maybe an hour and a half before you go to bed, step away from any screens, right? TV, iPads, things like that. Unless you have notes written down on those things, and obviously you can look at them, but you want to review your notes lightly. You want to just before the interview, you want to make sure that you understand the notes and you just quickly, lightly go over those notes again. You might also want to do things like reading a book, or maybe you stretch a little bit more, or maybe you just listen to calm music, right? It brings those nerves down. It gets you back to being in a mode where you're ready to go to sleep, right? You might even want to print, make sure everything is prepared for you, right? Make sure you already have, if it's an in-person interview, make sure you already have your outfit picked out. What are you going to wear? Maybe you print out additional resumes. You already have them good to go. You mentioned directions, right? Make sure you know the directions if it's an in-person interview and you've mapped it out and you know the best way to take so you don't show up late. Also, it's a good idea too to not load yourself up on caffeine before the night of an interview, because you don't want to be up all night. You're drinking soda before bedtime, you're having coffee, things like that. Like, try to avoid caffeine after a certain time, not too much in the evening. So that way you're not affecting your sleep quality and you can get a good night's sleep before obviously getting ready for that interview, right? But that's really what it comes down to, is just preparing yourself the best way you can, and doing those little things can go a long way.
Have you found, Jamie, that people are getting more interviews as of late and better responses? Is there anything that you're noticing in the process to give people hope that are on this call or listening to this that is improving in the job search process that you're finding now?
I don't know if I'm seeing anything improving right now lately. Like I saw in past weeks. I feel like there's still a steady amount of jobs that are obviously open, and I feel like there's still people who are there's still a lot of people who are finding success in getting interviews, right? But what it comes down to is that consistency, right? Don't, setting goals for yourself, setting an amount of jobs you're going to apply to every day, holding yourself accountable, don't giving up, making sure you do take breaks when you need to, because obviously you can't just do it. You can't be 365, 24/7 on a job search. You do have to take mental breaks and go out for a walk or do something or go spend time with family or friends or whatever it is, right? You got to do those things. But at the same time, too, you just got to stay consistent with your job search. And I think Jacob mentioned something. He gave some advice, too. He said, feed the job description in your favorite LLM and tell it to ask as a manager and for it to ask questions about internal process based on the job description, acting as a job interviewer. This will at least get you to use a style of questions. You can also to your answer. Yeah. We're talking about learning models and things like that, right? I mean, AI, those things. Yeah, you're right. That would help too. I mean, you can use that. That's another way to just get you prepared. So thanks for sharing that, Jacob.
Well, Jamie, with a lot of the government shakeups regarding roles in the government, what I always tell people to do, and then maybe you can advise on this, is I say when the news tells you about a big layoff at a company, apply there. Because what people don't realize is though people are going out the front door, new people are being brought in the back door. So with this Doge and people leaving, believe me, apply. You never know. They could have, overlaid off. They could have lost too many people in retirement. 154,000 people retired from the government with their early retirement program. My point is, you see a layoff, apply. What do you think, Jamie?
Yeah, I agree. Why not, right? Just keep your bench stacked. Apply to it. You just never know when they might get a heads up that they want to bring more people on board again. And then you might be the first one to sneak through the back door and get an opportunity, right? Layoffs are never an indication. Obviously layoffs can be an indication of companies not doing so well and things like that. But, companies sometimes rebound. And sometimes they want to bring on new people or they're looking for different types of help and stuff like that. So, and Jacob says DHS has a ton of money and roles to fill. So thanks for sharing that as well. So you just have to, no problem, Joshua. Thanks a bunch for the awesome advice. Of course, no problem. You just have to, don't just not apply because people are getting laid off because you don't know the story behind it. You don't know what's going on. You always want to make sure that you're obviously in the back of their mind and maybe they bring you on board.
The other thing, Jamie, that I tell people, here's another secret, is that if you do, as Jamie's doing right now, coach kids in your community, you're going to come across a lot of parents. If you're really good at coaching, they're going to see a good role model and they're going to say, gee, my company could use what this person's doing. You might be on a good interview if you coach, say, Little League, or you coach Pop Warner football, or you coach softball in your town, because all those parents are going to talk to each other, and that volunteer work you do is going to be noticed. They're going to talk to each other. You don't know how many small businesses some of these people have. Coaching can be your way to get a job, right, Jamie?
Yeah, coaching can, volunteer work can, attending meetings, attending fundraisers, functions. I mean, there's so many different ways for you to get an opportunity. Just get out there, put yourself out there, right? Keep a stack of resumes in your car in case you never know who you're going to get up to, right? Maybe you even make business cards.
Right, those little
right?
business
Is that what you're
cards,
doing? Yeah.
Right? Jamie,
yeah, business cards.
Talk a little bit about coaching your daughter, how you caught across that, how it happened.
How did I start coaching my daughter? I just decided to get into it, and she, I do coaching now for my daughter. She's 5 years old, soccer coaching, and just something I tried to do 2 years ago, and it wasn't something that was planned on doing, but I wanted to get out there, and it keeps me active of doing things. And to be honest with you, I've met other parents through my coaching that I still keep in touch with to this day. And you never know if those people, maybe one day I get back in the corporate workforce and do coaching on the side and career coaching. And, you just meet a lot of people, and I love doing that. Getting myself out there and putting myself out there is important.
Jamie, how can people get in touch with you for the free discovery call?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, jamsessionswithjamie.com. There's also the link right in the chat here, which Anthony has shared. You can also go to my LinkedIn page, and right on top there's a link that says rock my job search or set up a discovery call. There's a lot of ways that you can schedule a call with me. But the best way I always recommend nowadays is to go to my website, because you can learn a lot about how my process is and the services I offer. You can even see the pricing, which is transparent right on my website. I work with many job seekers every week. I'm very passionate about what I do, getting people hired. And, I encourage you, if you're stuck on your job search and you want to explore career coaching and you want to learn more about it and you want to work with the last career coach you'll ever have to work with, because I stay with you until you find a job, let's have a conversation. It doesn't hurt, right? You're only going to make it harder if you have the money to do so and you're able to at least try to exercise or at least think about working with a career coach. Let's have a conversation. That's all I ask. It starts with a phone call. If you're not willing to take that step and have a phone call, I can't help you out.
Right. Remember, everybody, you're your own solution. You set your own course. You are going to be your own success. You decide how this journey ends. There is a fallacy out there that other people decide the end of your journey. No. You decide your end by your education, your work for yourself, your experience and how you bring it out, your communication, your networking, your belief in your heart about how great you are, your ability to work with professionals like Jamie, your ability to take control of what you can and to make it happen. The other stuff is in your past. It's noise. It's done. It's Mesopotamia. It's an old civilization that doesn't exist. Go out and take it. Yep. Jamie, what do you say? September 9th? How do you like that? That's a Tuesday.
Yeah. Let's do it. We'll probably do the same time. That works out good, actually. Let's do, let's see, what's September 9th?
That's a Tuesday.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
That sounds
good. That will be a special Labor Day special where we bring it about how you can become part of the labor force. Right, Jamie? Final comments, Jamie.
Sounds good.
Final comments, quotes, anything?
No, just keep, like I said, I hope that many of you guys got some good advice on this call. I appreciate Joshua and Jacob and Sandy, I believe it was, who left comments. We didn't have a lot of questions today, which is fine. Hopefully we'll get more next time. But please, like I said, I hope that some of you do schedule calls with me. I hope that we can continue this conversation and see how I can help and, at least connect with me and follow my page and, let's be connected and share some good advice. And I'm happy to help if anyone needs it.
Number one, check out the link right under my name, right under my face. That's my membership level YouTube page. Number two, come back when I get the invite out and sign up for the September 9th event. Number three, believe in yourself. Number four, reach out to Jamie, get a free FREE 100% discovery call. Get your job search moving. And also understand, I have a whole group of items. Please reach out to me. I'll send them to you. And please spread the word. Tell your network about what we do. There is no one, and I mean there is no one, right, Jamie, out there that is doing what we're doing on a consistent basis. Right, Jamie?
Absolutely. Right.
Okay, everybody. Thanks again. Jamie, good luck with the coaching, and we'll be talking soon. We'll talk before the 9th of September. Everybody have a great day. Please stay safe and well. Remember, you are your own solution. Own it, build it, challenge it, become your own greatest success. You haven't gotten here just to stop. Right, Jamie? Tell them again. You haven't gotten here.
You haven't gone
Right.
this far just to get this far, right? You haven't gotten this far just to get this far. So keep on going, keep pushing, and be the best you can, and don't give up.
Right. We're here to support you. We're here every week or every couple of weeks. Come back, gain the energy from us. Bye, Jamie.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.